Hey guys, what's up? I know it's been a while. It's been a long time here at the channel with no content coming out, and a lot of that's just been stuff getting too busy in the personal life, but hopefully we'll get right back into the swing of things, and hopefully I'll be able to stick with it this time. Today I wanted to talk about the recent cinema phenomenon of Barbie. I did go see Oppenheimer and Barbie. I went to do the double feature, like everyone's saying Barbenheimer. I did go do that, but I'm actually more interested in Barbie than I thought I would be, and I actually don't think I really would have a lot to contribute to the review or like greater thought pieces about Oppenheimer right now, at least not in this moment. First off, I want to say that I'll probably not be showing a lot of footage or a lot of imagery from the movie itself, because every time I show something from a Warner Brothers property or a Warner Brothers studio, film production studio, anything like that from Warner Brothers, the video always gets taken down. So I don't think I'll be doing that this time. What you have to say about Barbie, at least for myself, is I really didn't have a lot of expectations going into it. I really didn't know what the film was about when I first went into the theater. Like everybody said, like in the months leading up to release, it's like, oh, it's a live action film about Barbie, and that's pretty much all I could tell about it. She goes through some type of struggle, some type of internal conflict, and there's really not much more to the basic synopsis than that. So that's all I knew walking into the theater before I sat down to watch it. As soon as the it gets into the movie, there's a narrator who's like saying, "Oh, you're in Barbie land where everything is perfect, and like where they fixed everything for girls and for women all over the world, and they made it perfect for every woman in the real world." But they're actually living in like a Barbie land is almost like a fantasy land. Like it's too perfect. A place to live, like, which is a lot of people attribute it to like it's living in like a fantasy land or a dreamland type of space. I thought this cast of characters was really cool. My I think one of my standout favorites was Simu Liu. He was like a really good supporting character in this, and he was one of the Kens, and he was just super funny. And like every time that I saw him come on screen, I found myself just kind of like drawn to him. The way that the film started, where Margot Robbie herself as Barbie, where she's just going through the motions of daily life, which is, you start like eats breakfast, takes a fake shower. None of it's real, by the way. The food that she eats isn't actually food. She doesn't actually eat it. She doesn't actually drink anything when she like pours water into a glass, things like that. Like no water comes out of the shower when she like basically pretends to take a shower. And like every day she like has a routine. She goes to the beach, and that's where she meets like the main Ken, Ryan Gosling, and like his job is beach. And that's the first thing that we basically know about him. Like his job is beach. He is beach Ken. He like comes with her, and she like tells him, "No, you got to turn back around. I got to do this on my own." And he basically says, "Well, what if there's beach? You're going to need an expert in that." And I thought that was really funny. I think it's really funny how like the labeling of Barbie and the Ken dolls happened. Like they're all like, "Oh, this is fashion designer Barbie. Oh, this is like." She starts having these weird thoughts that aren't consistent with like stereotypical Barbie, which is the Barbie that Margot Robbie is. She starts thinking about dying. Starts having thoughts about mortality and death. That's really abnormal for Barbie to think about. This movie has made very apparent. Um, and she goes to see who they call Weird Barbie, who's basically like the witch doctor or the examiner of all things like strange in Barbie Land. And basically like she explains, "Oh, there's someone in the real world who's like having these thoughts, and who like drew these thoughts into you, or like who is making these thoughts a reality. Like basically whatever happens in the real world gets reflected in Barbie Land." That's basically what the whole film is. She goes to the real world, and she finds this woman who's like unhappy in her work life, in her personal life, and she has these thoughts about death. And like I think what Barbie struggles with along the way is seeing that the world is really not what she pictured it to be. She like the narrator said in the beginning that the Barbies in Barbie Land fixed everything for girls and for women all over the world. And right when she gets to the real world with Ken, she sees that that is not the case, and like the world is actually like a very misogynistic place. It's a very threatening place for a woman to be in. But right when she gets through to the real world, she immediately starts feeling self conscious. Like there's people staring at her because of the outfit she's wearing. Ken is living life. Um, Ken is feeling himself. He's very proud of what he's wearing. He's proud of how he feels. He feels confident. Barbie feels the exact opposite. She feels self-conscious. She feels like people are, like looking at her up and down. She feels very uncomfortable. I was surprised with how many like feminist issues this film tackled. Like how many like issues of women, that are caused by greater things like the patriarchy. I was surprised how many of the themes or the specific things that this film tackled that women encounter in daily life. Like one of the things that happens right after she starts feeling self-conscious is she gets catcalled by a construction crew, and she handled it really well. And I realized this is it's hard to classify what type of movie this is. I don't know if it's like supposed to be a comedy. It feels like a satire to me, but there are very serious moments. It's funny 1 minute, and then it shifts into a very serious tone, and then it gets very emotional. um I actually found myself getting emotional at certain points, which I wasn't expecting. I was expecting Oppenheimer to be the emotional powerhouse of the two, but Barbie was actually the stronger one, for at least for me. She witnesses how like the world is like catering to men. She realizes how the world around her is basically like ran by men who are in the most positions of power, and they're basically the ones who create the rules. And in this world, it's the women who are in the minority. The consistent theme throughout is like, oh, the patriarchy is a bad thing for men and women. And we see that later in the movie when Barbie goes back to Barbie Land. Once she's in the real world, like we found out that the guy playing the CEO of Mattel is Will Ferrell, because of course it is. There's a whole chase scene where they're chasing Margot Robbie out into the street, out through the Mattel offices. It's hilarious. Like, Will Ferrell was perfect in that role. Everyone cast in this movie was just amazing. When she gets back to Barbie Land, Ken takes what he learns from the real world, and he sort of imposes patriarchy onto Barbie Land. He sort of educates all the Kens in Barbie Land on how to instill a culture of patriarchy that's consistent with like the characteristics of it. And when Barbie comes back, like all the Barbies are basically, they're serving the men. And I think that's the most important difference that we spot in the film when Barbie comes back. This movie is basically a satire and like a parody of how harmful patriarchy is and the idea of it. And I didn't think that was going to be what tied the film together. What Barbie actually did was try to like make Ken see like his self-worth. Like, you don't need to be this idea of what you've created in your head that you have to be. Like, you can just be yourself. Like, you can just be Ken, which is where the whole I am Kenough sweatshirt comes from, by the way. The I am Kenough sweatshirt, like, Mattel saw the popularity there and they're actually releasing that, and I think that's the ultimate, like, fans have created the demand for it, and therefore we're making it available to everyone. I think that's a clear consumer action right there. Like, I was really surprised of how complex it was. Towards the very end of the movie, when it's almost over, Barbie says, I don't know if I want to go back to being Barbie. And she kind of doesn't have, she's kind of outgrown the concept of being Barbie. She is an individual now, and she has free and independent thought. She basically becomes human, and the way that it's presented, I won't spoil it for anybody, but the way that she kind of becomes human is really funny. But it was really emotional, for it. Like, I started tearing up a bit when she like became human. I think overall the film did a really good job of like presenting itself in a nice little bow. Overall, I think everybody should go see this movie. This film really surprised me in a lot of ways with that, and I think anybody who chooses to go see it is in for a surprise too. Overall, I think it's a really good movie. I think everybody should go see it. I think it has a lot of value for everybody. Maybe not the best thing to bring kids to. I just wanted to mention like 2 songs in the movie that I thought were amazing. There's I'm Just Ken, which is like basically like a power ballad of like Ken like saying like, oh, I'm pining after Barbie, but she doesn't think of me like that. She thinks of me as just a friend. And like it's during this whole like faux battle of like the Kens on like a Barbie Land beach, which is like, it's the whole thing's like just hilarious. The other song, which was What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish, and I think it was made for this movie. I'm pretty sure that song was basically the reason that I got emotional. It was like Barbie doesn't know what she's made for anymore once she sort of like realizes like, I have to find a new purpose. I have to find something else that I was made for. It was merely that song that almost like it got me really emotional. I think it's a really good movie. I saw it with Maddie, and the both of us just loved it. Margot Robbie is just a treasure. She's awesome. And Simu Liu, I think, was one of my favorite characters beyond that. Like, he was just super funny to watch. Will Ferrell is Will Ferrell. Like, he's great. The entire cast was amazing. Those are my thoughts on Barbie. Hope to make more content for the channel in the future, and hope you guys go see Barbie in the future, and Oppenheimer as well. That was a really good movie as well. Don't just be Ken. Go see the movie, and don't just be Ken, because you're Kenough.